genausinnig dort dann jetzt Zukunft.
Go. Hey.
We're on. Go. It's good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas Hampson here. It's Thursday. It must be me again. It's 7 o'clock. It must be here in Berlin or here in Paris, here in Zurich, wherever we are in the Central European time zone. IDAGIO Live, the place where classical music happens. The fun thing about Thursday is I get to visit with a lot of people in the music industry, most of them my friends, certainly all of them my colleagues, and every once in a while I get to have a night as if I was just kicking back, putting my feet up and having a beer with a good old friend. And that's tonight with Andreas Schager. Now, you might know, we're going to get this right out of the way, right at the top. You probably have heard his name and you've had cocktail discussions. Is he Schager with an R or Schager with an RL in a very Austrian way? Both are correct, but in fact, when after he had his bar mitzvah, he turned to Schager. No. When he grew up into real major repertoire, he became Schager. Yes. So, Andreas, welcome. Great to see you. How are you? Where are you? You're in Berlin.
I'm in Berlin. Hey, Thomas, it's so great to see you. The last time it was at La Scala, and I remember this time. So great.
You were the supporting cast to my starring role as whatever that Udu priest was.
No, you
all the hair and the beard and everything. I mean, gosh almighty.
It doesn't matter how you look. You are a legend. You are on stage, you are legendary.
And if you sit close, you can still hear him.
Yeah.
You sang the enormous. It was, ladies and gentlemen, it was a production of the Ägyptische Helena in La Scala. With Ricarda Merbit as Helena and you as Menelaus, no?
Menelaus, yeah.
Menelaus. And I don't even, what was the name of my character? What is his name? Some Urwald, I don't remember what his name is, but never mind. I'll remember it. It was an amazing production, and Franz was immersed conducting, and Eric told a wonderful production. We could discuss all night the piece. Pros and cons. It was a great experience. It was the first time we were ever on stage. We got to know each other a little bit. So you have a wonderful story that I think people who know you and don't even completely know, and certainly a lot of our guests tonight who love these shows because they put names and voices together with people in the industry, and you know, you are without question the leading dominant Helden tenor of our time, rightfully and wonderfully so. I can attest to that. 5 performances, my mouth, my jaw dropping open at the end of the
Come on, stop.
No, it just sounded like you could just, okay, well, that was okay. It was a good warm up. Let's do it again. You're amazing. But what I wanted to say was, first of all, where are you from and where did you go to school? And your beginning repertoire was actually something very different.
Absolutely different. Yes, I'm coming from a farmer in Lower Austria, so really high up on the mountains, and we had totally nothing to do with any classical music. And that I always say, who was your first singing teacher? And I always said, I think it was my father, because I remember I was about 5 or 6 years old, and then always went with him to bring the cows back to the house, and so he stand there. And he was shouting to the cows, and he was sick with a huge voice, and I was always looking like this, and to my father said, how is it possible to make such tones and such a great voice? And I think this was for my head the beginning of my singing career.
Fantastic. Did some of the animals teach you as well?
Yes.
I grew up in the summers on a farm in Missouri, and I was so bored that I just learned how to, talk like a chicken. I can actually turn the head of a chicken and a cow and a sheep and a dog, and never mind. So when did you come? Yes, not a lot of music in the top of the hills. On the other hand, that's where a lot of the great composers went to find their music. I'm thinking, of course, of Gustav Mahler.
Of course.
Schubert. Anyway, Schubert was a city boy, but he loved nature. It's a little bit of a paradox. So this is okay. Where did you go to school, and when did you start singing? Already in school? Were you just a musical kid?
Yes, the family was a musical family. Not about to singing from notes or a paper or something, but just to singing from the ears. Yes, we all played instrument without ever learned it, and so it was after. I remember after I'm the youngest of five children, and after summer when we had done all the work, when everything was done, so we celebrated together, and that's, I think that this time we sang together, we and we had fun together, and I think this is so deep in my heart. And then for me, all singing so always was very positive. Even I never learned it. I never learned it in school or in university or so. But for me, it was always, singing was always great. Singing was always joy, and has always this warm feeling in my heart. And it is still like this. It is still. I never
How many
thought.
colleagues can say that? That's really wonderful that you say that.
And I think we have, and you, especially you, Thomas, when you are on stage, or when I can talk to you besides stage, you're always such a positive person, and it is so great to be with you, and to see your positive aura everywhere, and that's the way I think. I like this person, and I hope to be one of them.
You are. Where did you go to school?
Yes, I went to school first of all in my little town in Lower Austria. It was, and then I changed to an abbey, to a famous Baroque abbey in Melk an der Donau.
Wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know the Melk Cathedral, when you're driving from Linz to Vienna, it's that enormous edifice on the left side as you're driving towards Vienna, sitting on the Donau. It is just one of the most extraordinary cathedrals in the world.
Absolutely fantastic.
I didn't know they had a music school or a school. I mean,
it was a school, but the school was we called it Gymnasium, and then we changed I think from primary school, when you go the first years, it is in Austria the Volksschule, the first 4 years, and then you change to the Gymnasium for another 8 years, and then you can go on study something or have a job or something. Yes. And this was the Gymnasium for 8 years, and I was there, and I was just lucky to be there. And it's the priest of our little town said to my parents, "Oh, I think this young boy, he should go in a very good school, and give him to the abbey in Melk, and then give him the possibility." I think he wanted me to become a priest too, of course, but it didn't work out.
But when you, as you were going through the gymnasium and thinking about university, were you thinking about music, or did you want to do a different profession?
No, not at all. I never thought about music, but in this school in Melk, I started to sing in a choir. We all had to go to the choir, and so it was my first experience with music, with classical music.
Right.
And I think I started the first. I got in touch with classical music as I was 16 or something, very, very late, yes. And then we had this boys' choir. But
had you ever been to the opera?
No, never.
You and I, we have so much alike. I was in 2 opera choruses on stage before I actually saw an opera.
Fantastic. No, my parents never took me to the opera. They died very early, by the way. No, it's true. And for me, it was, we had no time. We always had work at home. We always had this farm, and then so it was I think 100 kilometers to the Vienna State Opera. So there was no possibility and no thinking of going to opera or something. But I probably it was not as bad, because if they took me to the opera too early, I would sit there and then I would say, oh my God, it's so boring. I never will go. When I grow up, I never will go in this house again.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, you certainly need to be very careful if you're going to take young kids to the opera.
Yeah.
And I remember a very good friend of mine, when he was taking his kids for the first time, 9, 10, even 11, 12, 13, he had season tickets to the New York Phil, and he had season tickets to the Met. And there was sort of an inside deal at the house that, look, we're going to go to the opera tonight. And you can go to the first act, second act, or third act. Third act, you're going to be up late. That's fine, but you just have to go to school. All these kinds of rules. He never insisted, even for orchestral concerts. At the pause, they'd go out and they'd have a Coke. He said, "Okay, who wants to stay? Who wants to go?" And most of them would say, "Oh, I don't know." And then we say, "You want to go to the cinema?" Yeah. And they'd go to. But the kids grew up, of course, completely passionate about having all of this. So your point is well taken. And to ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be an opera crazy to get our attention. As you can see, we all come from different backgrounds. But
yes. That's important.
When did you really start? Did you go through university?
I went, I went to the university first of all to study something completely different. I studied history, and of course, I wanted to become a teacher.
Right.
But then I was in Vienna, in the town, yes, and as I told you, I come up from the mountain, and there was nobody. I had nobody in Vienna, so I was quite alone. And then I saw a friend of mine, and he said to me, "Okay, come to the Wiener Konzerthaus, to the Sing Academy, to the big chorus of the Wiener Konzerthaus. It's fantastic. There are many young people, and we go after singing for having a beer or something, and it's fun, and come, and twice a week we have rehearsal." And I said, "Why not? I can't read the music, but."
You couldn't really read music.
I couldn't read the music. Yes, and I went there, and I know the first conductor there. It's a big house and a big chorus and everything, and so they always performed the big oratories for chorus and orchestra, and so. And the first conductor there, for me, absolutely unknown, I had no idea who he was Claudio Abbado.
I love it.
It was, and I was sitting there, and I had these papers, these notes for me. It was Schönberg, ein Überlebender aus Warschau, for me. Absolutely, totally. So, and I tried to listen to my neighbor sitting next to me.
You were doing the narration of that?
Sorry?
You were doing the Überlebende aus Warschau? Were you in the chorus at the end, or were you doing the narration?
No, at the chorus.
The chorus at the end, which is pretty,
Yes.
I mean, the piece is really...
Yes.
It's the one monodram. All the monodrams you really need to be a musician.
Yeah.
That one, more than any, they really have to be the right inflection at the right time, the rhythms. But then at the last comes this male chorus of the Überlebende. So you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, what is this?"
And as I was used in the church to always to hear to my neighbor and to sing what my neighbor is singing, I tried to do the same there. And I was in a big chorus, so I could dive in and be not. But the second piece we make, and the Konzerthaus in Vienna does always the Beethoven 9 at the New Year, so for 3 performances. And this was the second big chorus oratorium, big chorus symphony I sang, and I could remember. Oh, I know this. Da 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 da. I know this. So for this line, I know, and. The conductor also, I didn't no idea, Simon Rattle, who was this. but when I think back to this time, I really was lucky because I started music in a chorus, but also started music on the highest level you could imagine. Even I didn't know it.
That's true. That's true.
And
So when came so you were in the Beethoven 9 in the chorus. You didn't sing the solo.
no.
When did you? Because it's a very difficult tenor solo. You're about to do it in Berlin, but I'm sure by now
Yes.
you've done it a lot.
Yes, I did a lot, and then it was very. It was for me. It was like a coming home. As a few years ago, I did exactly with this chorus, the Beethoven 9, in the concert house, and as soloist. And so for me, it was after 25 years coming home and sing this together with this chorus. I started.
How many people were still in the chorus from when you were in the chorus? Quite a few?
Not as much. I think 10, 15.
So when did history and teaching go? Did you ever teach? Were you a teacher?
No, I never.
You started singing.
I started singing, and but this was the way. In this chorus, very soon there was this fire in my heart for singing, and then the chorus director recognized my voice, and then he said, "Okay, can you sing this solo line? Can you sing here these 2 solo phrases?" And I was absolutely on fire to do all this, and so for me it was. After 2 or 3 years, it was absolutely clear I want to become a professional singer because I love this so much. What I learned there and what I did there, and then it was so much more exciting as to be a teacher in school.
Although I'm sure that your history training has served you well as you've started through the opera repertoire. One of my favorite books is a book called History Through the Opera Glass.
Wow.
And literally telling the history of civilization, and at every point zeroing in on the operas from where they come from that perspective. I'm going to probably make it an audiobook. I think everybody should know this. It's just everybody thinks opera is such a rarefied thing that sits out there somewhere. It's actually one of the great evidences of civilization of human life. It's a fascinating art form. So, but when you started, did you start with? When you started getting your first jobs and manager? Did you sing some competitions? How did you get your first jobs?
Yes, I began with.
I mean, Vienna, there's so much music. Word came around. There's a new tenor. A tenor's going to get some. If you sing and carry a tune, you're going to get a chance to sing.
No, I think I had two ways of starting my job. The first was. Yes, after I went to the university to study Lied und Oratorium with Walter Moore, and then I came there and I had a few lieder and I sang them, Du bist die Ruhe von Schubert and beautiful songs, and so he said, "Well, I'm interested. Come to my class, but I give you a very good advice. Do not take any singing teacher here." and I think this was a very good advice for me. but I always and I have no idea if you know this. I was there in the university, and there always from outside famous singers were coming in to do master classes or something. Yes, and then I saw, wow, masterclass Thomas Hampson.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You told me in the Lothringergasse.
Yeah.
That's right. It was actually a class.
And it was crazy.
It was a class for teachers.
Yes, I was just allowed to listen there and not to be, but I was there and listened to every word you say, my dear Thomas. And so here we are again.
That's very funny. I forgot. I think you did tell me about that because I only gave one class. There's a wonderful room in the corner up there on the third floor. It's a fantastic. Never mind. Oh, that's very funny. So some of the things that happened that day, you kind of went, "Oh, that makes sense to me."
Yes, yes, it's always like this.
I never knew I was your voice teacher. Never mind. So,
But
when you started singing, were you invited to Mozart or you were invited to operetta?
of course, I started with Mozart, but I didn't get any jobs there. Because I was there in the lead class. I told you, and there have been two classes for lead of one, and the Musikdramatische Darstellung, also for opera, was the second class. Yeah, and of course, all the jobs got the opera classes and not the lead singer.
Unbelievable.
But then I started to make after this at the end of my study, I started to make auditions, and they immediately worked out. So I started to be my first professional job was a little theater in Germany. It was Krefeld Mönchengladbach.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and there I was for 2 years, and then I sang almost only operetta there.
Right.
And because a young Austrian singer, and it was Vogelhändler from Karl Zeller, and you need this Austrian dialect in it. Kyrie sang God alle miteinander, and it's written in Austrian dialect.
Yeah.
And so it is very. I had. My first jobs always was about this operetta, and so I sang it very, very often. And then after 2 years, I got out and to the operetta world, and I was singing operetta for almost 10 years.
So did you do things like did you sing Mozart? Did you have a couple some years that you sang Ferrando in Così fan tutte?
I sang once. Yes, I sang once Ferrando. It was in the music in the music university, because one of the Ferrando quitted his job, and I could get the chance to step in. And I sang there my only Ferrando. And then
Don Ottavio as well. I mean,
Don Ottavio, one performance Don Ottavio, yes, with a pregnant Donna Anna. It was very funny.
Very funny. Wow.
And then after a few years, I sang my first Zauberflöte. But I didn't always not do a lot of Mozart. It was very, very, very less. But Zauberflöte.
Did Tamino feel very natural for you?
Yes, it felt always natural, and it was
when you were going back from after La Scala last season. You were going down back to Vienna to do a run of Zauberflöte, no?
To do a run of the Zauberflöte, yes, and then this is the only Mozart role I keep in my repertoire, because first of all, I love it very much, and second of all, I think Tamino is a prince. Yes, he's not a softie or something, but he's somebody who goes out, who's fighting against this big dragon, and then he has so much more in his heart, and not always this very, very soft and very fretful for everything. He's a man, and yes, yes, and when you read the Kläuber, this is an opera guide, yes, the famous opera guide. When you read this book, you see Tamino, jugendlicher Heldentenor. Yeah, so and it's totally different to everything I listened, because I always listened Tamino to very soft voices, beautiful, of course, but it gives an absolutely other character. And even when you sing the famous scene with the Sprecher, yes, this is very dramatic. And when you have two dramatic voices in this scene, it is so much bigger and much.
I sang the Sprecher for Hannenchor a lot in Zurich. The next time you do Zauberflöte, tell them you can only do it with me as the Sprecher. I will. That would be so much fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Was bist du grüne Fremdling hier?
Lieb und Tugend Eigentum.
Verrückt.
We can do it now.
That's fantastic, fantastic. But, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, the tenors that the two gentlemen that I sang with a lot that had exactly the same were Jerry Hadley and Gustav Winberg.
Oh, yes.
Especially
Yes.
Gustav, because Gustav also went on to Lohengrin and was moving to the repertoire and Fidelio and was tragically taken from us. Very sad that we lost Gustav. We shouldn't have lost Gustav. Lost himself.
Yes.
He knew he had issues, and he should have. If he'd just been a little bit more careful and actually gone to the doctor when they said, "Go have this taken care of," maybe. But to die in your sleep just seems such a try. But he was the same kind of Jugendliche Heldentenor, exactly that. The same beautiful presence, and it also means that your Pamina has to have. Pamina is just such a unique soprano to me.
Yes.
She must have all that height and fragility, and yet the juice and the substance, a little bit of the dark.
Absolutely.
Corner, it's just wonderful. If I was a soprano, I would only want to sing Ach, ich fühl's.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
I forget.
But even Pamina, she is the daughter from the Queen of the Night,
Exactly.
and you have to feel this in her voice, and you have to see this in her character and everything. So it's not always
10 years of operetta, and then somebody went, "Good God, that's a lot of voice on operetta. Have you ever thought about singing something else?" What happened?
Yes, it was a very, very nice coexistence, because it was Beethoven 9 again, and there was Gustav Kuhn, an Austrian conductor who had the Tyrolean Festspiele, Tyrolean Festival, and he also conducted in Salzburg all the 9 Beethoven symphonies in 3 days or something. He always does such crazy things. And so I was there to make an audition for him, and I was there exactly as he did the 8th Symphony of Beethoven, and then he said, "Do you know the Beethoven 9? And I said, yes, of course I know. Our tenor is ill tomorrow. Can you jump in? Yes. And I was like, wow, it's an honor. It's fantastic. I do it. And so he heard me with this Beethoven repertoire and asked me immediately afterwards, are you interested to do David in Meistersinger from Wagner? Yes. And for me, I was used to take every job at this time. And then so I said, yes. Absolutely, I do it, and then I started to learn this music, and I saw how much this is, and then
Meistersinger is just endless. I mean, it takes 2 hours and 40 minutes to sing the role of Hans Sachs from top to bottom.
It's
I mean, that's
incredible.
without stopping.
Yes,
that's not coaching. That's just singing. The second act of Meistersinger is longer than the entire opera of La Bohème.
Yes, it's true.
Unbelievable.
And so, even the small roles like I did, like David, it's a huge role, because you have to do so many parlando. You have to be, you are stage all the time, and you have to sing this and this and this and this. And for me, this was a very good school.
Yeah, I could have, but you got it learned and you did it.
I did it, I learned it, and I did it. And then I immediately recognized that this repertoire and this, especially the music of Wagner didn't make me tired. So it was always exciting for me to do this and to be on stage. And then so I very, very soon went for auditions to do this, to go on with the Wagner repertoire. And there was an audition in 2011 or 2012, I think, 8 years ago. It's not as long ago. And I did an audition for Rienzi in a small opera house in Germany, in Meiningen. And also I did an audition for both of Siegfried's, also in a small opera house in Germany, in Halle. And both of them went well. So I was engaged for Rienzi, and then I also was engaged for both of Siegfried's. And then it started, I sang operetta for 10 years, then I sang my first Wagner, and then immediately I sang Rienzi and Siegfried.
I mean, isn't Rienzi one of those Wagner roles that tenors are just terrified of?
Yes, they are.
It's kind of it's the role that seems to me that it's the role that Wagner really is finding his operatic language. He's still got a lot of the sort of bel canto or Italian French influence, but now he's getting the declaiming and a lot of the tessitura. He didn't hate tenors like Mr. Strauss did, but he wrote and the tessitura of Rienzi is difficult. You have to negotiate it all night, don't you?
Yes.
The tessitura, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, we're having a little shop talk here.
Okay.
Tessitura is the range in which you're singing your role. If it's a high tessitura, it sits in the higher part of your voice. And what we're talking about is there is the high part, there's a dramatic part, but then there's a lot of low middle voice, and that negotiation of those areas of your voice over a long evening can be very tiring. And most tenors for this role are scared to death because the big exposed solo times come after a lot of different, more heavier singing, and then all of a sudden you've got these great and unbelievably beautiful arias, in my opinion.
Yes, in the fifth act.
Am I describing this correctly?
Sorry?
Am I describing this correctly?
Absolutely, I couldn't do it better. And then it's exact as you told. And for me, and I figured out at this time that the change of my voice is it's also a bit singers shit we do now. So when you have the breast voice and the head voice, and so this changing for these two voices was for me on a very high point,
right?
On a very and so it was always easier for me to sing in this higher tessitura, and where so many colleagues going ill very, very quickly, going tired so very quickly. It was exactly the tessitura.
Below.
Yes.
From below and
yes. And so I always had the feeling this is for my voice. For my voice, it is comfortable, and that's exactly the voice you need for all this Strauss and for all these Wagner heroes. And so I never. Of course, they're heavy and everything, but I never find it as difficult as so many said, because
Andreas, standing next to you or watching you on stage in this murderous role of Manaus, he just doesn't shut up. I mean, neither one of you or Helena. I mean, it was an amazing even to watch you guys work. But at the end of the opera, when you had that wonderful last solo, which is a lot to ask at a long evening like that, but I had the feeling when you sing that you sang it like Tamino, and simply opened up the back of it, just let but you always start your voice in the higher, more upward, lighter resonance, like a bow on a string, and then let it fill out. And this just feels so healthy to me listening to you sing. It helped me in this. I have to admit, I don't remember this. Oh dear, I think it's something like that. When I started to learn this role, I just started to laugh. It might have been some of the ugliest music I ever had to learn in my life. I actually grew to love him, but the only fun thing about a role like that is watching two enormous roles like you, Ricardo, going at. That was a lot of fun. But this your trajectory to this repertoire reminds me very much of the biography of Franz Völker. A kind of generally forgotten tenor. He was one of the great lyric Helden tenors of the 40s and the 50s. Beautiful voice. You can hear him. He might even be on IDAGIO, on the Lebendige Vergangenheit, and you hear this height and this beauty and this carrying of the sound, and yet this massive, healthy, behind it. This is what it feels like when you sing. Do you ever get tired?
Of course not.
Yeah, but somebody like you, you have to be careful how much you sing. It's not what
Yes.
you sing, but it's
Not
you love
not
it.
you,
You can.
not during the last 6 months.
Well, exactly. So during that, I do want to get to this. Okay, we've got you up in your Andreas Schager and now Schager, and everybody knows, and you're one of the few people that when they say, "Would you like to do Siegfried?" you don't go. You just say, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yes.
Actually, the story of working with Barenboim is interesting.
Yes.
How did that happen?
It was, I told you, I did an audition for the first Siegfrieds and it was in Halle, and
Right.
the musical director was Karl-Heinz Steffens.
Right.
He's now the musical director of the opera in Prague.
Right.
And he was very close to Daniel Barenboim because before he became conductor, he was a solo oboist at the Berliner Philharmonics, and so he always was in touch with Daniel Barenboim. And he did his first ring cycle in Halle. It's a small opera, but a huge orchestra. And okay, I did my first Siegfried and my first two Siegfrieds, Siegfried and Götterdämmerung, and it went very well, and it was a huge success. And then he called Daniel Barenboim and said, "Okay, we have now really found a young, quite slim Siegfried, and he looks like Siegfried and he sings like Siegfried, and then the audience gets crazy and everything. So you have to hear this guy." And I think Barenboim was interested, and so he offered me one performance, Götterdämmerung, to do Götterdämmerung in Berlin at the State Opera. And I was very honored, and you know the repertoire in operas are like, okay, you have one rehearsal, you have no rehearsal with orchestra, and you have one chance, and then you can do it. Yes, an opera for 5.5 hours. And then I had this chance 2 days before my opening evening there. And it was a Sunday, and then I said, okay, I can only be on with you at the rehearsal for a few hours till 4 p.m. because at 6 p.m. I have to sing at the Philharmonie in Berlin Zauberflöte with Simon Rattle. But not Tamino. I sang there the armed man, you know. Okay. and then they said, okay, that's no problem, because at 4 p.m. we have to end the rehearsal because our performance Siegfried starts, and so it's no problem. Yeah? And of course, I was ready with my rehearsal at 10 minutes before 4 o'clock, and I was packing my backpack to go to the Philharmonie. And then the opera director came in and said, "Mr. Schager, can you please help us? In 10 minutes, Siegfried is beginning on stage, and the orchestra is still there, and the audience is in, and our Siegfried is not here." Oh. He wasn't here, and I said, okay, yes, I know this part. I can do it with you. Yes, come on. And they put me on stage in my street clothes, and
I love it.
And to sing it on a concert way beside the stage, and the stage director was playing with the costume of Siegfried on stage. Yeah, and so it was. I did 2 days earlier my first night
and this was also with Daniel Barenboim conducting.
It was with Daniel Barenboim, yes.
Did he smile at you a lot?
There was too less time to be nervous.
Yeah.
There were only 5 minutes, and then you have to say, okay, do it. So and then you're just running. You don't think, and that's the way. Never for young singers, never think, just run.
One of the great lessons, all of you who are listening to this fantastic singer, if you are a singer, everybody's waiting for this and that engagement to happen. Don't.
No,
Be
no.
ready.
Be ready. Be ready.
Be
Yes.
ready for
Yes.
fate to kick you in the butt on stage. You know,
Absolutely.
be ready for the next plateau. That's why
Mhm.
my favorite saying of "fortune favors the prepared mind" has a bit of a warning to it. It means
Mhm.
you know, what can I say? It means be ready. It means
Yes.
okay.
Exactly.
Look,
So,
I don't want to tire you out. I don't want to make. We could talk obviously for hours, but I want to hit a couple of really incredible predictions. I was saying off air before we came on, ladies and gentlemen, that in the lockdown time, which we all of our jobs are gone and so forth.
mhm.
One of my wife's and mine's most bemusing activities was to watch Andreas's Facebook, because he and his wife have some of the most unbelievable. They have a wonderful sense of humor, and your wife is a violinist, and you
Yeah.
have these wonderful kids. But you know, we're here in Switzerland, and we had to wait some time before the
Mhm.
Baumarkt opened up
Mhm.
and the garden shop opened up.
Yes.
I think you got to it first, and you were doing these hilarious postings of you stuck in a car. You couldn't even see you for all the plants. Your wife and these ferns, and
Yeah.
Andrea, I'm driving the car and I can hardly see out because I've got some ficus that she has found, and she says, "Oh look, Andreas is posting underneath this ficus." And it's exactly the same photo. We laughed so hard; it was fantastic. But other than that, you've been incredibly busy with fun projects. You had your kids, you made some singing, but
Yeah.
you made this what is it called? Opera in Natur, Laubach, Schloss Laubach.
Yes. Opera
Tell us
meets
about that.
opera meets nature.
Yeah, opera
And
meets.
then
It's your idea, no?
yeah, it was my idea, because before this lockdown, you have before Corona, you have totally other totally other headlines in newspapers and so. And one of the headline was our forest is dying, and that's really dramatic. Because I'm coming from a farmer, and I know exactly what it means when there's not enough rain, when there's the Borkenkäfer or something killing the trees and everything, and then you look at Brazil and you see the Regenwald is absolutely cut down everywhere, and of course. You have always this the thing. There's too much Stickstoff, CO2. How do you call it in English? CO2. This
carbon dioxide.
Yes. Too much is of them. Of this is in the air, and too less Sauerstoff and too less fresh air. And the trees are exactly they are solving all these problems. So they deserve all this CO2 and then for hundreds of years, and then they give us the fresh air and they give us everything. So, and then I wrote an article in a very good newspaper, in the Süddeutsche Zeitung, and they said you only have to plant. I think 12 billion trees, and then everything with every problem will be solved on this planet. And so I said, that's logical for me. And so I just wrote, okay, let's plant trees. Yeah. And then some fans of me, there's a law. He said he took this idea and they said, okay, we have to do something. We have to make a foundation and everything. And so we made this foundation, Opera Meets Nature, and then till now we were planting, I think, 20,000 trees or something.
Wow.
Only to make for making concerts and then to make trees.
Is this an ongoing project? Are you
Yes.
doing concerts every year, or how many a year?
It's just the first year we do it. Yeah. So, but we just start this. Yeah.
And they're always in this Schloss.
No. It was just now in this Schloss. It was the first thing was in Wiesbaden.
Okay.
And then we made our opening in Wiesbaden, and forest director from Wiesbaden was there, and then she offered us 20 hectare, 20,000 square meters
Wow.
of wood, so we can plant there the first 20,000 trees, and so, and then it goes on.
Now, are you just doing this in Germany, or will you do it in Austria as well?
We just started it with Germany. Yes.
Yeah, but come on, let's do this in Halberstadt. Let's go down to Steiermark and do it.
Fantastic. Yes, of course.
You know who else? You know who else was big on planting trees? Was Claudio Abbado.
Really?
Claudio Abbado held the politicians' feet to the fire. I don't exactly, but I remember that there was something about his contract or the open air. It was something he wouldn't take a job. He wouldn't stay unless they planted 10,000 trees in
no.
or something like this. We need to get this story. I'm probably telling it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. You can probably Google it and just look up Abbado and trees, and I'm sure it'll come together. I'll get the.
I didn't know this.
Upon this, he was very adamant about replanting trees in Italy, but I think specifically in Milan, in the area. But
yes,
no, it's interesting. This whole COVID disaster, it has been a perfect storm. It's a bad storm. In other words, our careers got put on hold. Our economics, everyone's economics are on hold. All sorts of. But there is a little bit of a silver lining to this cloud, and that is that every colleague I talked to, everybody, even though they missed being on stage and they couldn't work and all, have felt like they've been a little bit on a needed vacation. And
yes, you are right.
Everybody's singing better and feeling better. Meanwhile, the traffic was way down. The carbon dioxide line went way down. The trees got happy again. Here, Venice. Did you see those pictures of Venice?
Yes.
I've been to Venice. They're just muddy, awful canals. And usually the thing is, God, if you fall in the water, you'll die of something. And all of a sudden, you could see fish swimming next to the
dolphins.
So maybe nature was trying to say to us, ladies and gentlemen, shall we just take a breath and slow down all of this craziness that we call progress? And not that progress is not good. We must progress, but we must do it rationally. We must do it in the time frame that is healthy, and especially, and this is the big fight in America, so that everyone participates on the same playing field, moving forward together. So, it seems to me, I don't think anybody's in the clouds waving their finger at us, but when natural phenomenon happen, we must recognize that we are part of a natural phenomenon. And all these great doctors and scientists are saying that the world of pandemics is not just going to go away. We very often refer to the Spanish flu that happened 100 years ago, and we're thinking, okay, this is our event, and poor bastards in 100 years they'll have to put up it again. That's not true. We're in a completely new now, and I love the fact that you've started this initiative somehow to find ways that music and the arts and the letters are binding communication of what it means to be alive. This is so beautiful. Great.
That's why I love this guy, because exactly.
No,
you are absolutely right. I couldn't say that.
Last thing, what happened in Belvedere? That's another project that looks like a lot. The Belvedere, the Schloss Belvedere, the Theaterpark in Belvedere.
Theater, yes, it was crazy, and it was fantastic. Because there were no theaters anymore, and then even you can't go. Everything was locked down, and then every opera was locked down, and we all were losing many jobs and many money and everything. And so and in Belvedere in Austria, they started open air in a very old park to do concert and cabarets, and every evening they began with 400 people in the audience, and now they have 1,200 people in the audience. And then it was fantastic. And so they asked Lydia and me, as Lydia and my wife and me, can you make a program? Can you make one evening there? And she said, with pleasure. And then we have one pianist, and it was Helmut Deutsch. And then so we created a program, a little funny program. We called it, because this year I should be the first Austrian guy to ever sing Siegfried in Bayreuth, in the Grünen Hügel, but Bayreuth was cancelled. And then we created now a program that is called Siegfried auf Abwägen. Das heißt Siegfried, different ways for Siegfried or something. Yeah. And so, yes. And so we told in a funny way the things Wagner didn't told us. We took the end of Siegfried, when Siegfried is with Brünnhilde on the rock, on the Brünnhilden rock, and then at the beginning of Götterdämmerung, Siegfried is going away from this rock, and suddenly immediately he comes to the Giebichung, to the hall of Gunther, but Wagner did not told us what is in between. And so I think it was our work to tell the world what Siegfried, the adventures of Siegfried in between.
Did you go to the Moulin Rouge, or where did you go?
We went to the Moulin Rouge, of course.
Yes, I love
with the three Rhine maidens. He was in the Moulin Rouge, and he was with the famous nephew of Wagner, with Wolfgang Amadeus Wagner, and he sang his famous aria, Brünnhilde ist bezaubernd schön.
I love it.
And
people, I mean, in Vienna you can do a program like that, and people must have just been laughing and crying.
Yes. And then of course but the thing on this evening was, I started to sing, and immediately at the moment the rain started.
No.
And it was raining all the evening, but the audience sit there, and they were fine, and it was fantastic. We need to put our heads together. There was a man who used to do these kind of programs, parodies on the operas. Yeah. And things like Posa. When I came out, Posa would come into Don Carlos' cell in the fourth act or fifth act, whatever, to sing the famous Parme Junto, the farewell. But in the recitative, Don Carlos is angry. So at some point, after all this, ba 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 ba, and then he sings Don Carlos. It's good night you visit. Right in one of the cadences, silence, and the next thing you hear is the tenor, Vragi, and you sing the dual shooting duet from Onegin. So you can have all sorts of things. You can make all sorts of crazy. I don't remember who there was actually versions of this sort of thing. Oh, how fun! That's incredibly fun. You're fun, but you also did some singing stuff on your Facebook with your kids. With my kids, yes. It was the elder one. He was absolutely. It was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. He was absolutely in this Siegfried stuff, and he loved it. Ho 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 hi! And he everywhere sang this as a little boy, and he was singing in the car and everything. And it was so funny because this little, I always told him little Siegfried, and now we have two little Siegfrieds at home, and so it's really.
Your kids are not going to be sheltered from the world of opera like you were.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So you're now in Berlin, and you're singing Ariadne auf Naxos,
Bacchus, yeah.
Have you sung that a lot? No,
not a lot. I just sang it twice, I think, and the last time with Walzer Möst in Cleveland.
All right.
Yeah.
What of the big Helden repertoire have you done the most?
Tristan.
Really?
Tristan, yes. There were times, I think there were 2 years I did almost only Tristan, because so many Tristan were canceling everywhere, and I jumped in. I think it is Tristan.
Tristan is a monster. I mean,
it's a monster, yeah.
Is it more difficult than Menelaus?
I think they're the same, absolutely the same. Menelaus, and then yes. I can't. Tristan is when you start the first act, you have 3 acts. So when you start the first act, it is like a warming up. It's not much to sing the whole first act, and when it's a fine warm up. Then the second act, you have this big duet with Isolde, and then it's getting more dramatic, and then it prepares you for the third act. And in the third act, you have to open the cards. You have to show your cards to the audience. You can't. You
as we say, you bring all of your toys to the sand.
Yes, yes.
You know, I remember having a conversation. The same thing with Meistersinger.
Yeah.
All the great Zachs said that, you know, just warm up in the first act. Don't be careful. Keep presence. Be there. The second act is long, and of course, you know, the big singing is in the third act.
Yeah.
You know, I contemplated the role for a while, and I was visiting Fischer Dieskau, and I asked him about singing Zachs as a strong lyric baritone. And we were walking, and he was very quiet, didn't say anything, didn't answer. You'll love this. After about 2 minutes, he stopped with his hands behind his back and he said, "You know, Thomas, the third act is very long." And I said, "Yeah, alles klar." It's a big song. I would love to sing this. I just don't have the throat for Zachs. I love the arias, I love the role, but I
think you would be a fantastic singer. You have to do this.
You've done it with do you still Strauss sing now?
It's absolutely the last big Wagner role missing is Stolzing.
Yeah.
And but of course they offered me some Stolzing, but I told you I was in this Wagner for 8 years now, and it's not very long. And in these 8 years, I was singing, I think, 8 or 9 production of Tristan. I sing 5, 6 production of different rings. I sing all the big Wagner roles, so I don't have time to learn more. This is my problem. But I would love to do Stolzing, of course.
Well, the good news is, especially for us, you're a young man at the top of your game. You're amazing, Andreas. It's a great visit. We've had a whole hour together. It seems like 15 minutes.
Well,
so there you are. You're back.
So here, yes.
It's great to talk. Thank you so much for taking an hour. Have a great rehearsal tomorrow. I was lucky you were off this evening. I wish I could come to Berlin. How long does the run go?
Just 4 performances.
When's your last one?
I have no idea. Sorry.
Look, I'm coming to. Do you think it's as late as the 28th of September?
I have a look. When you're.
Because I'm coming to Berlin for a couple of days. I know this is boring, ladies and gentlemen, but this is.
It is the 27th. Is the last.
I'm coming to Berlin on the 27th. I will see
you. Fantastic. You are my guest.
I love it. I love it. Big hugs, man. Take care of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is IDAGIO Live. We didn't get to idagio.com, but we'll do that next time. Go to idagio.com and point to whatever you want. It is a streaming platform of classical music, only classical music, built by classical musicians and run by classic lovers. And you will find a completely new life for classical music in streaming. And pay attention for global concert halls that are now coming. There are these wonderful concerts that are live across the internet, and of course IDAGIO Live, which for me is Tuesday talking about song and Thursday talking with my best friends, and it's a wonderful series. So thank you for joining us, Andreas. Thank you. Have a good rehearsal. I will see you.
Thank you. Good night.